No company that I know has lived BYOD and mobile and embraced them as energetically and as enthusiastically as Cisco. I do a lot of roundtables with CIOs on this topic, and a surprising number of companies are still grappling with BYOD and mobile. As a glimpse into the future, what does mobile look like at Cisco today, and how is that different from 5 years ago?
Yeah, so we've been at this journey on the mobile device side for about 5 years now. We actually made a decision, and I would love to say it was because we were so brilliant and could see this whole trend happening. This was pre-iPhone. That really wasn't the case. What happened is we were looking at a cost reduction exercise for the company, and we looked at all the different ways we could reduce costs. And I would say at the time, we didn't really have a cohesive strategy around our mobile policies and just mobility in general. So we took that opportunity again 5 years ago to create that strategy, and I would say that it was probably in hindsight one of the best things we've ever done. Because at that point we decided we could see that the demand and the use of mobile devices was going to be really critical moving forward. We could see the technology changing. Of course, it's part of what we do. So we could see that. So we changed our policy that basically said to the organization, okay, your phone is important. We understand that. But guess what? We want to make it your phone, your personal device. So you pay for your phone. Your manager will approve if you should be on the corporate paid plan or not. So at first, Jim, quite honestly, this was not well received. We had a lot of negative connotations around it. But in hindsight now, what it has done is it has freed up, the policy has freed up the ability for our employees to really have a flexible mobility policy. I now have 60,000 smartphones deployed inside the organization, all employee owned, 15,000 iPads, all employee owned. And the good news is that I've saved a lot of money during this process, as well as having a pervasive and enterprise architecture. But the best news is our employees are just thrilled. You know, phones have become almost an extension of our own personal brand. In fact, we've done this study recently on this connected technology report that suggests that, you know, 2/3 of the people that were surveyed said they'd rather lose their purse or wallet than their phone. I mean, it really has become so important to us. So in hindsight, this has been really important because I have a certain percentage of our employees here that will wait in line at the Apple Store overnight to get the newest and latest and greatest iPhone 5 or the newest and latest and greatest BlackBerry. So we've created an architecture that allows for that. My advice to those that are still deciding what to do here is create your strategy. We've got a 6-step strategy that we deployed. Decide what your strategy is, stick to it, and really ensure that you're offering, you're implementing the strategy in a way that the employees feel is really beneficial, that can help them increase their productivity.
I've heard that everyone, right up to John Chambers himself, are subject to your BYOD policy. It's a bit of an industry legend. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. Every employee in the company purchases their phone. It's their personal phone. And what's more interesting, I think, is that part of the policy, when they actually agree to connect to the network, we ask them, we go through a series of questions, and we let them know that when they connect to the network, I get the right to wipe the device if I need to. And so that's also, I get questioned a lot, well, how in the world have you been able to say it's your personal phone, but I get the right to wipe the device? Well, a couple things. One is, if they're connected to our network and they get access to all of work, then if something happens, if they lose their phone or they leave it in the taxi cab, that we all want to protect the company's assets, so we wipe the device. But the second part is mostly on the phone. What people mostly care about is pictures. So we have given them instructions on now with iCloud and Apple, their instructions to easily back up their photos. So it really has not become an issue in those a few instances where we do actually have to wipe the device.
The key rules that you've put in place and why they're important.
So I'll talk about the 6 steps to our strategy. The first is we have a scaled architecture. That was really important, making sure that you have pervasive wired and wireless. We use AnyConnect as a connection for our security aspects with a combination of ICE, which is our device detection at the network level. So in our pervasive architecture, it is wired, wireless, and all the security components. The second is our policy, and this goes back to what our policy was at the beginning. And quite honestly, Jim, we haven't changed that policy in 5 years. It is your employee-owned device. You purchase it. We make it really simple and easy. I'll talk about that in a second, of how to provision the device. But coming up with your policy that's consistent globally is, I think, another key area. We don't deviate much from our global regions. The third is we actually went back and renegotiated with service providers to look for the whole notion of your phone and the use of voice versus text and data is rapidly changing. So going back and making sure you have those relationships and deals with the service providers that's both financially prudent for us and them was a big part of it. The fourth is now I'm really focused on is apps. Again, the device is one thing, but I want to make our employees as productive as possible. We'll talk, I think, more about the apps strategy in a second, but putting apps on the phone for our sales organization like My Bookings, My Commission, My Deal Tracking, all on their phone while they're out talking to their customers has been a real advantage. We changed the support model, and I know the IT listeners that run support will appreciate this, is that no one likes to call, IT support. It's never been a positive experience. Usually it's really expensive, and none of us like the experience in general. So we changed it where we created a community that had all of our rules, our policies, everything in our mobile community. So one was all the Q&A and everything about our community there, but also we made it really iconic in 6 clicks to provision your phone. We do all sorts of testing on this internally, and it's on average, once you open your phone from the packaging, it's 28 minutes to provision your phone. We've made it that simple, where it's click, 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 and actually can provision your phone. And IT has stepped out of the way. So that's just another example where not only do we have a great policy, but we put the practice and process in place to make it really simple and intuitive. And then finally, the final step is I think sometimes IT forgets about communication. So we've overly communicated the policy, the process. In fact, the mobile community is our number one community inside all of Cisco right now.
How do you deal with security issues with the phones?
Clearly, you have to have all the layers of security and encryption all built in. And how I've done that is, again, I use a combination of AnyConnect, a combination of an MDM solution, in our ICE, which is our network detection, or device detection at the network layer. So a combination of that really makes us feel that the phones are secured. Now, I will say that we use here at Cisco the choices, so it's really not a total BYOD, like bring any and all devices inside the company. I can't afford that, and I think it's actually too much choice for the organization to absorb. What I do allow is the combination of iPhones, Androids, and Blackberries. It's those 3. For me, it gives them the choice of what everyone wants, basically, and also an affordability that we're managing those costs appropriately. So it's not about trying every single phone and every single permutation of those phones, but really it's the 3 big ones. I will say Apple and Android have increased their security on their OSs in general over the last few years massively. So that's also helped.
What's the future of the mobile workforce, and what are the big impacts that we're going to see in the next 5 years?
I actually think the physical location of work, because of the technology is improving so rapidly, because of like this experience, telepresence, people working from home, I think we're going to see less and less people coming into the office. And if they do come into the office, we're going to have more and more social and community aspects of them to work in together. But I just think that in general, because of the nature of work and how global most companies are becoming, I think the essence of people being more mobile is just happening. We have all sorts of statistics to support that. So because of that, I don't think work is just your email on your mobile device. I think that's interesting, but that's not exciting. I actually expect almost the desktop replication. Every single thing you have on your desktop can be done on your mobile device. Now that's a big vision, and we're not quite there yet, but I do think that's going to be the expectation of our workforce.
Just to bring this back to our main topic and just the lessons for mobility, how do they create that community and the collaboration that we're talking about in this episode?
It really is the convergence of 5 pillars, and that's mobile, social, video, apps, and content. I think it's those 5 things coming together in an enterprise. The convergence of those 5 things is how I'm defining collaboration. When you really bring communication with the richness of video, with apps, and with work, that really is a collaborative enterprise to get work done, and those 5 pillars come together.
How should we measure success?
On the mobility devices, it's actually quite easy. I mean, just the sheer uptake of the mobile devices in the organization. But again, with the 6-step strategy that I laid out, I actually saved a great deal of money for the organization. Again, through the fact that the devices are now purchased by the employees, so IT's out of the phone business. The fact that I renegotiated service providers, and the fact that we changed our help desk massively around the social support. Those 3 things together saved us a lot of money, created a better experience for our employees, and they're actually getting the phone. They're becoming more productive at the same time. So it really is the trifecta, the triple play effect.